Hey there, Sarah, Next Gen Medium. Um, I hope you guys don't mind that I'm using this camera nowadays instead of my other really nice one, partially because what I want to talk about is stuff that I want to show you and share with you. I like visualizations. I'm a very visual person. This is a big part of my psychic ability is being able to utilize that. And I think there's a reason why, and I like to share and show. And I think that's how I can get, information across maybe better. Sometimes my words, especially nowadays, aren't cutting it. But I hope you don't mind that I'm using like a lesser quality camera. One, two, holy moly. My words just are having a difficulty just coming out of my brain today. But I'm going to try my best. And it's interesting because what I want to share isn't something that I feel particularly like really inspired to share with you, but I feel like it's still important. And I also felt like the timing of sharing this is the most important part. And I'll show you in just a second. So let me share with you my slideshow I put together. So right now is July 19th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. And what we are looking at is a configuration that is happening right now. It's called Barbeau's basket in astrology. Now, listen, we're going to kind of talk about the themes going on with this basket, but the point of the video is to help direct your attention and awareness and to kind of suss out what's going on here, but also like why it's important for you and what you need to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you themes to work with. And I'm also going to share with you like how I'm navigating this because I feel it's kind of strange. I feel there is like when I think about Barbeau's basket and I think about the placements, the visualization that's sort of been seared in my brain in the past, I don't know, month or so. And now it's happening. Like we're in it. We are in the thick of it. And not only are we in Barbeau's basket, but there's a little extra happening at this moment for this day. And when I think about this visualization, this configuration, it becomes almost a physical visualization. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it almost wants to be in my arms, like I'm holding it, and it's just what keeps coming up. It keeps coming up for me, like it's in my hands, in my arms. It's something I contain, which is really interesting because Barbeau's basket. You think of a basket, and a basket holds things. Um, and it's almost like I am holding the basket, as in like in my visualization and sort of this relationary, I don't imagining. And it came to me a couple nights ago when I was going to bed and I was thinking about Barbeau's basket. And it was a visualization that came through that was almost like a physical visualization, almost like a psychic experience. So, and it's not as profound as I'm making it seem, but it just keeps sticking there. Like that's just how this is kind of coming to me. So to give you an understanding of what's going on here, we have 4 planets. They're outer planets, and it's an extraordinary configuration because they're at 4 degrees of their signs. We've got Pluto at 4 degrees Aquarius, Neptune at 4 degrees Aries. We've got Uranus at 4 degrees Gemini. We've got Jupiter at 4 degrees Leo. And I just said 4 degrees for all of those. And they're all outer signs, outer planets. And it's pretty interesting that they're all lining up at the same time at a 4 degree. But there's also like geometry involved here where their separations are creating flowing beneficial energy that is thematic of astrology. So if you look at this picture, there's all kinds of blue lines, but you see some big X's there, right? And this particular photo is probably a little different than what we've been seeing of Barbeau's basket, but I'll get to that in just a second. So this is an extraordinary configuration because its outer planets lining up at these degrees and their separation from each other is an exactness. Um, 60 degrees apart is called a sextile, which we're seeing with Jupiter here and Uranus here. But we're also seeing a sextile here with Uranus and Neptune. We're also seeing another sextile here with Neptune and Pluto. This is extraordinary. The Uranus, because there is a 120-degree difference, is creating this flowing trine, effortless, beneficial energy between Uranus and Pluto right now. And um, flowing, effortless energy between Neptune and Jupiter right now. So there's a couple things to talk about, and I don't want to get too deep into the astrology because I'm an armchair astrologer. I'm really fascinated by it. I'm really fascinated to see the connections with mundane astrology and the things that are happening. And there's more I would love to share, especially with my state, Maine, and the astrology that's going on and how things are lining up, how some things happening here are becoming national news, international news, just in the past like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and there's a common theme to it all, and I believe it has to do with the Great Conjunction that we experienced earlier this year, which sits on Maine's midheaven. Like, holy shit. There's something here that we need to be paying attention to when it comes to the state of Maine, but we're not talking about that. I wanted to show you my basket. So this is my birth chart, and this is my basket when I was born. So to have a configuration that is a basket is not like crazy unusual, but I did want to show off my basket. Look at my basket, you guys. It What's interesting about the basket is to look at like what houses are being held here, what signs are being held within this energetic cup, you know, what is being contained, but also maybe what's outside of the cup and what is not being contained. So this is just to give you an idea that baskets exist. And I am an example of it. So we are looking at a lot of relational energy because we're looking at one side of the chart that has to do with the other. Like this is a dividing line to the other. I have a lot of energy going in that direction, a lot of energy up top. So very seen by the outside world, by everybody, like very um, available to watch. And I have a YouTube channel, so that makes a lot of sense. You're watching it right now. But also some other components that are relational, and then some stuff that's out of the cup, out of the basket here. And this is a heavy one. This is a heavy thing that falls right out of the basket pretty easily. The Scorpio, Pluto, Saturn piece, a very sort of serious part of the chart where everything else is very buoyant and lifted. And this is the heavy counterweight. This is maybe what suspends me in our reality is this heaviness here. And then this allows me to see beyond what is available. Anyway, we're not analyzing my chart. We're looking at the basket. I wanted to show you how the basket is showing up for me in my chart because I think it's really fascinating maybe to utilize one aspect of what we're going to talk about here in this not so inspired chat, but useful. So if you look at the basket, in my chart, first of all, my personal basket, remember, it goes across this way. So there's like almost an insane amount of energy happening between the like mm, collective consciousness aspect of basket and my own personal basket. There's a lot being contained in there, or not. And what I think is really interesting is to think of like, what is a basket? It's something that holds things. And how does it hold things? It holds things because we have gravity. And if we were to allow for gravity to happen in which the basket is this way, which it is for my chart, maybe we're talking about like things being able to float up to the top and sort of being contained so it doesn't go too far away. Almost like I almost think of this like a hot air balloon, it's trying to capture in order to lift. And maybe we should be thinking about the basket in a more individual way of like what is being contained and how is it being contained. Um, if the basket was in a different aspect in my chart and it was more of like a container of holding the things so it doesn't go down any further, like what's the interpretation there? This is something that's really important and something that is going to be really integral to our conversation, and it's observation and perspective and perception. Okay. um what am we looking at here? This is how it's showing up on my chart, I think. Yes. Just to give you an idea that like what we're seeing on the collective level, this is what we're seeing at the collective level, can be seen like this on your own personal chart and transit. So that basket has disappeared, right? But it's still there because we still have everything at the 4-degree area. But if we go to like AstroSeek, which is where I get my charts, you're going to see like what's happening on is just how I had the settings. But I think it's also important to see how your own energies are being affected here. And you can see that I have a big red square happening right now with the retrograde Mercury in Cancer and my own natal Venus, who also has Saturn um, just about conjunct there, but Saturn's moving backwards now. So it's going to retreat and then it's going to come back. So you can see that basket, Barbeault's basket, really has no huge impact with my personal placements. But nonetheless, it is a collective energy and it is something we all need to take into consideration. And this conversation is a way to have us be more mindful of, you know, as we see impacts on our own chart or just feeling our own impacts, living our everyday lives and not even caring about astrology, where we can center our understanding and thoughts as we move through the summer. This is a crazy time right now. Why am I talking about this? It's not because I felt super inspired to talk about it. It's things that are in the back of my mind of like, well, as a sovereign individual, using metaphysical abilities, understanding that these abilities help me feel truth and help me trust in my own way of guiding myself, and also trying to maintain inspiration, not trying, allowing maintenance of inspiration in order to follow my purpose, which leads me to my freedom. No big deal. How do we navigate this time with the planets and the signatures and the themes that are happening? And how does this all coordinate and correlate? Why right now, Sarah? The moon is at this time that I'm recording this. Exactly. The moon is at 4 degrees Libra in the 3rd house. And if we go back to that first chart, this is our energetic stuff right now. Now, if we took off that moon, which right now is at 4 degrees Libra, we wouldn't have all of this stuff here. We are actually seeing an addition to the configuration that's allowing for another outlet in this moon area. We're seeing a trine from Uranus to the moon. We're seeing a trine from Pluto to the moon. We're seeing a sextile from Leo to the moon. And where Libra is in your chart speaks to what that outlet is for you. For me, it's my third house. Here's Libra. It's my third house. It's my communication house. So I feel like I'm stepping up to meet the outlet. And maybe what I have to say is helping the configuration and helping the masses and helping the individual navigate what's going on right now and what's to come. Okay. I have inner wisdom to share, and I'm happy to do that. And I do that in a lot of different ways. But today, this is how I'm doing it at this time, because I see the what's it called? RFP. I see the RFP has been put out there, so I'm meeting it. Such a marketing nerd, sales marketing nerd. Okay, so that's why that's happening right now, and there's an assistance here. And there's also choice on my part that allows for maybe an additional piece to come into play. Now you will see there's a big red cross here. So there is oppositions happening. This isn't straightforward like blissful living. There are things we need to balance and things that we need to be more mindful of in this process. At this exact time, I need to balance what it is that I say that comes intuitively. Here we're combining my third house concept with the moon of intuition. I need to be balanced with what I say, and I need to harmonize it. And this is versus the pioneering idealistic vision that I have, that I hold. And for me, this has to do with metaphysical abilities and how I feel like integrating these abilities, which aren't new, these are ancient abilities. These are abilities that have been hijacked. Our nervous system has been hijacked. Our emotions have been hijacked. And because of these very simple things, we're not connected to our sovereign selves, our metaphysical abilities. This is my pioneering concepts that I've had my own evolution in, that I'm not alone in having an evolution in, that I think could be part of a revolution. Okay. That when we talk revolution, it starts with a whisper, one. But two, we're looking at that Uranus piece, which has this flowing energy to me communicating and innately doing so with my intuition. Letting that be part of how do we find harmony here. And so my grand vision, and that I am a pioneer of, I feel like, is that us reconnecting with these abilities allows for us to take back truth, to retake trust again, and to find our ultimate freedom. That is a pursuit of happiness for the rest of our lives, but is attained over and over and over and over and over again. It is not something we rarely grasp. It is something that is always there for us to embody. This is my grand vision. My grand vision is that this is power back to the people. And it starts with attention and awareness. And that is the hardest part, is for us to be taking that back. But it is a choice, and it is an action, and it is an option. Okay. No big deal. Where are we now? So let's get into what we got going on, and then we'll break it apart. Okay. I did not want this to take forever. Never do. Coffee's working. It might mean that there's a hard crash coming later. All right, so what we're looking at here is actually what's to come in a few weeks, because while Barbeault's basket does, if we were to redraw the line here, we can actually see some faint blue lines. Barbeault's basket involves that Jupiter as part of the basket. It's what makes the basket, is to have that Jupiter. And that Jupiter is only present for a few weeks, and it will have a lasting impact. We might even feel a sense of it coming back later in the future, because Jupiter is going to be retrograde at some point. I don't know how far back it's going to go, but we might get twinges of this time, what's happening now. And I've seen some pretty crazy things that I think, well, that is dystopian or that is utopian, like, what am I seeing with Anthropic that's going on right now that makes me feel a sense of, like, we could have technology help us help us get more power to the people. Maybe that is possible. Maybe tech and the people can be on the same side. And then there's other, like, dystopian things, like seeing Donald Trump talk about ways to narrow down being able to vote and stuff. Like, this is dystopian. Like, how? I'm not going to get into that. But seeing this configuration, this is going to be more longer lasting. The 4 degrees Pluto, the 4 degrees Uranus. Oh, look, we already see Uranus, 4 degrees Neptune. We're already seeing Uranus move to 5 degrees. But I will say, these are very slow moving planets. Look, Neptune's in retrograde. I know Neptune is going to be going back over my Neptune, squaring it again, which I am so over all these squares that I've had to deal with lately. It's the midlife crisis stuff, that astrology is right there to show you. But there is going to be some wiggling and waffling around that 4 degree area. It's going to move to like a 5 or 6 degree, where these outer planets are all going to be lining up with their sextiles and the trine. But either way, we're looking at a flow energy going from Uranus to Pluto. And I think this is maybe the main energy we need to be really focused on. But they're both being affected by Neptune. So when we kind of try to understand, like, prioritizing the many themes and energies happening here, we can maybe start with the one that's not less impactful, because there's no such thing as less impactful. I would say more prevalent right now, but only for a little bit. And we'll start with the Leo piece. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so we'll start with the Leo piece, the Jupiter piece. So as you can see, I am a couple weeks ahead, August 3rd, and Jupiter is already out of that configuration basket. It's already loosening up. But right now, at this particular time, we are seeing an exactitude. You see how Jupiter is being influenced by Uranus. It's got flow energy between it and Neptune. You see an opposition needing to balance the individual and the heart and the purpose with power and the collective and technology. There's a tug of war happening here. How do we have both? How do we have both? Where do you place yourself amongst the individual and the collective? We also see a flow energy at this point in time coming from the moon in Libra, where that is for you will help you understand, July 19th, in the morning, afternoon, like what was going on there that had some sort of outlet energy, and what was the outlet of a sense of being a part of a bigger whole. So there's an example. But also, fascinatingly, you can't have one without the other, of being the individual, of having inspiration and being an agent of change. Both of these are agents of change. In some ways, Uranus is more of the agent of change that makes you have to deal with the shit. So there could even be like a sudden happening, a sudden communication, a sudden message. And I have not seen the news in a few hours, so maybe there's something being shared right now that affects the collective, because that's the moon. Moon is representative of the collective. In an individual's chart, we're talking more of your own subconscious or your own intuition. But there's also maybe great change for the collective here. There's power plays here. And there's a lot to investigate with this one. The Pluto Aquarius. I've said it before in previous videos, and I really feel like the Democratic Socialist movement is a representative of this energy. I think it's part of the theme of power to the people. But this is also the house where like tech stuff is happening. So it seems like the tech stuff and the masses, the people, like where do these two things like have an existence together where they're on the same page? We're not sort of taking power from one or the other. How do they sync up? How do they work together? And maybe there's something that is brewing in the collective, that is brewing in the energies, that is maybe having an outlet right now at this time. But there's also balancing this moon with the vision. Now, the vision, we have to be careful. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Barbeault's basket, so we talked a little bit about this moon. So what's happening right now, that there's a feeling of an outlet of your individuality, but also feeling a connection with either technology or a sense of being part of a collective. And maybe there's even a balancing act that we're trying to figure out as to like what I believe, what can be reality, what is my belief in reality, and what is my perspective, what is my perception, and what is actually here. What is the ideal? Okay, there's a lot going on there. Libra is an easier, it's luckily like a calmer energy, it feels like, in all of this. Okay, so let's talk about the Jupiter piece. So with Jupiter, you just saw my slide here, and I probably should have done something a little bit different with this. But with Jupiter, we're talking about your purpose. Jupiter in Leo. This is a sense of like your own spiritual leader in yourself, who is taking center stage. This is the teacher. This is the mentor. And when we think of the people that get the spotlight, what do we want from that person? We want authenticity. We want heart-led. We want it's funny because I'm thinking about one of the main one of the things from my state, the state of Maine, that's been going on is the downfall of a political revolutionary, who was a representative of the Democratic Socialist movement, and he came out of nowhere and was just blowing away the competition. And he had an immense approval that I think the institutional Democratic Party people of Maine, I don't think they liked it. And I think that's why Graham is gone. And personally. But when I'm talking about all these things of the individual who's passionate and really leading because he cares so much, and then you know, the other side of Leo is the selfishness, is the doing it to protect your heart, but willing to do anything to do that in a negative kind of way, to take other people down, to be in the spotlight because it's feeding your ego, and it's not because it's working a purpose. And this is one of the reasons why, like, I felt really disappointed with how things went with Graham Plattner, why I continue to be disappointed with like where things are going to go in that direction. But this is an example of like, okay, so that's what happened to that person. And I have a whole video on Graham Plattner you can check out on my YouTube, because there's even this interesting alignment with Jupiter being in his first house and like shielding him during this whole campaign of all the red flags that people talk about, but it's all just big blown up stuff that people don't understand from the outside. And then as soon as it went into Leo, the shield was gone, and that's when his downfall came. It's pretty astounding to see the astrology there. So when it comes to Jupiter, you know, we're watching these things, we're feeling disenfranchised, and here we are, the individual who is leading with our heart, right? We're following our passions, we're following our purpose. Maybe we're not quite defined on what the purpose is, what our purpose is. Astrology can help you narrow that down, by the way. But really, it's, you know, following inspiration and being able to take it from thought form to physical world form, and then sharing it with people, showing it, selling it, telling it. You know, this is the delivery, and that is absolutely part of the purpose, practice, and purpose, which I share in my podcast, which you can hear wherever you hear podcasts. I can't say that for sure because I'm still trying to figure out how to get everything out there. I'm almost halfway through with the this first series, which is the teaching portion of everything that I talk about with metaphysical sovereign stuff. And this purpose, practice, and purpose is absolutely a part of it. I think I'm editing that episode right now. Maybe it's the next one. It is the next one. So go listen, because I got lots of stuff to share with you. And you heard like what my mission is. You heard what my vision is. So like go do that. And if you want to learn more, go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, sign up for Next Gen Sovereign. It's the educational center and community where you can go like practice with people and stuff. Okay. All right. First, the self-led portion. That's the foundation. And then you get to play with people, because we all need to be on the same page with like at least having some experiences. Doesn't mean they have to be mind-blowing experiences. In fact, if they are, I would say like you're further ahead than I would have been to start playing with people. But it also like builds a vocabulary that we can all be on the same page with. Language is the biggest barrier of all this stuff, I promise you. And it's all in the podcast, so go listen to that. So right now, you need to be focused at this time. We need to focus on what is my purpose, and how do you figure that out? It's what inspires you. It's what makes you drop things and go do something because you feel a sense of inspiration, okay? Or you feel a duty. Like, I feel like I need to go do this. I didn't realize that there was a protest going on yesterday, right? Like 10 minutes from my house. I had no idea until I saw the video on Facebook, and I said, I bet those people felt the calling of their purpose, and that's why they went out and did that. And that is the Leo energy. That is the Leo energy leading from your heart. You're an individual I'm an individual and you were stuck in the haze. For some people, right? But this is very clearly that opposition of the Leo Jupiter, who is the individual who is leading by heart and purpose and finding the balance with I am also part of a collective. I'm also part of a movement. I Aquarius is progress. Aquarius is evolution. And so this is the next step to help us move in that direction. And it takes the individuals coming together as a collective. And I think we're trying to find that balance and not get lost in being part of the collective and sort of losing a sense of my individuality because Uranus is in play and Aquarius is in play. Aquarius holds that individualism, that sense of I'm unique and different. But you can also the other part of Aquarius is sort of losing that sense of identity to a mission. And this is where I feel like we really need to be paying attention because this is how we have the extremes of our political situation where people are identifying so strongly with justice. It's almost like I am justice, and it's like no, what it is that you are what it is that you focus on and that you bring to the argument. This is how you embody that. It's not you emoting. And I would say if there is a strong emotional sense to this stuff, it's first of all, I can understand why you feel that way. But at the same time, it also shows that there is still a lack of awareness that there is a bigger picture concept happening here. And part of your job is to not get swept up in especially the negative emotional stuff. Part of your job is to get yourself out of there. That's part of your job. And I'm not saying we're bypassing feeling negative energy, feeling negative emotions. Not at all. In fact, I would say having part of that as your experience helps develop the amazing emotional piece to have compassion, which is what leads you to embodying that higher self energy. It's a tool to get you there. But I will say that one of the things that I was talking to myself and ranting to myself about yesterday while I was working in these woods that I have that I'm trying to get all cleaned up, is the victimhood mentality and how we are just buried in this thinking that because something happens to somebody, all of a sudden, like there is this endless chasm of pity and like excuses that are just perpetuating forever. And there's almost like no responsibility on their part to be able to get themselves out of that. But in a bigger sense, it is a sense of like victimhood culture of I don't have this and I got to blame that. It's sort of outsourcing who to blame and not like being able to investigate within and doing the work to get yourself out of that. It's like rewarded to stay there. It becomes identity. And this is another piece of that dichotomy with the Leo is being the individual, saying your piece from the heart. But when you weaponize the heart, this is when we've got a big problem. And I feel like this is a part of like Graham's thing that I have a lot of hang up on. And I step back and I go, we have a bigger issue here. Okay. So purpose. What drives you? What excites you? What is it that gives you your personal joy? This is important but you also need to balance, how is my individualism adding to the collective, or where do I become part of the collective, and what am I adding in there when it comes from my heart? Am I weaponizing the heart? And that can be manipulation. Or am I genuinely selflessly working my purpose because it just gives me joy? How is the heart being wielded? We need to be super conscious of that, or else we're running around in circles like idiots. Let's talk about power. So this is the other side of the opposition. Let's go back. I'll show you. Here's Leo, we were just talking about. Wielding the heart. Now, power. Pluto is a slow evolving tower card. Ready to just churn. What was the word I used earlier? Pangea of power, just ever moving, always changing, and it wants you to build a foundation that can withstand your lifetime and beyond, to set you up for the next lifetime. I don't subscribe to that, but that's the idea with Pluto. And to have the sense of power that shifted from the powerful, now that are powerful, and we're shifting it to those that have lost the power. It's almost like, oh Jesus, what the hell is that thing called? I don't even know. I'm seeing a visualization of like one of those, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a sand water thing mechanism. I don't even know how to explain it. So when it all shifts to the bottom, and then it's a mechanism that's meant to create balance, so it automatically shifts and goes back to the top so that everything can flow back down, and it's just this ever I don't know what it's called. Perpetual motion machine? That's one of my favorite phrases. I don't know, but I hope you understand what I'm talking about. It's got water, like oil and water, or sand and sand. And I remember it was really popular when I was a little kid, these little toys. And they were just kind of something to watch, and maybe even something that helped like your, I don't know, decompression kind of stuff. But it's sort of like, this is the counter coming back to balance, the pendulum swinging the other way. And we are far enough into Aquarius with Pluto that we're really getting a taste of what the hell is up here. And the other aspect that we need to take into consideration, I don't think a lot of people have, is Pluto's being out of bounds. But that makes things a little more like chaotic, because we're not really sure Pluto out of bounds doing what it does, and how is that going to work here. But here we're really getting the sense of your power to the people. Here's the interpretation that I also see in Aquarius is technology. I tend to flip the script a little bit, in that I don't think of technology just as the phone and the screens. I think of technology also as the innate metaphysical skills you have, the skills that we have created technology to emulate. So we are perfectly capable of telepathy, of being able to communicate from continent to continent using our mind. Our modern usage has disconnected that. There is a subconscious knowing that that is a tool of ours, and so we recreate it on the outside. And then we have little kids in minds getting the components for our iPhone. Yeah. And So when I think of the Pluto piece, I'm also considering this like skills aspect as part of our technology, because I cannot imagine um, the tech bros being like, all right, now we're on the side of the people without force, or there's something else going on. It's not out of the altruistic, you know, love of their heart, even though Anthropic seems to be going in that direction. Um, Maybe. You can't tell. But I definitely see our incorporation of our own technology, our psychic ability, our intuition, um, learning how to merge with the higher self in order to gain freedom. This I can see making sense as tech for the masses. I believe these skills were available thousands and thousands of years ago. I believe that astrology was a big part of understanding these tools for ourselves, and maybe even where um, astrology was a way for us to know like which of the skills would be most amplified based on stuff that was going on, possibly. But anyway, I think the big part when it comes to power of the self and being able to balance that with the individual. There's so many interpretations here, but I think what let's see what I wrote down here before I say anything. No, I think what it really comes down to is how are we allowing our true human selves to shine through without losing a sense of self and identity. Um, I will say with the metaphysical tools, it's easy to feel disconnected from your humanity because because it's not integrated in our culture. And so it almost feels like it's a foreign piece of us, which is very Aquarian. Aquarian and aliens kind of go hand in hand. And it is a sense of feeling like I'm an alien and I'm an outsider. To be able to use these abilities, to be able to have the perspective of like, there's nothing hidden. It's all an illusion, but everybody believes that they can hide the things, and then there's shame everywhere, and it's like, ugh, how can we not live like this? How can I almost feel like a closeted alien, you know, when I feel like it's the most human pieces of me that connects me with everybody, and they're just not connected to it. Um, I think there is a huge understanding that needs to take place here, personally, that very much has to start with the individual and your own experiences, creating your own, um, having your own desire to uncover these things for yourself, and then for it to become your reality. It really changes this axis. All right, let's move along. I feel like I'm just taking forever here. Individuality and inspiration. This is go I should have just put this at the back of the slides. Individuality and inspiration. We are looking at Uranus. Uranus is our freak flag. It's in Gemini. It's something we talk about. It's something we communicate. We are done hiding our individuality. We are sharing it, we are showing it. It is flowing to the power of the collective. It is flowing at this time to how I communicate and I share, through, or maybe how I'm balancing beauty and fairness, um, with from my subconscious, from my emotional self, from my motherly nature to you. Um, like it's a beautiful thing. The individual portion here, when it comes to the um, Uranus aspect, like I just realized there's something else I need to talk about here. One aspect is the nervous system. In Gemini is a high intensity nervous system aspect, which is not easy, and maybe calls and speaks to how we need to be paying attention to our nervous system and being able to find in and practice calmness and integrating that into ourselves. The way that I do that is with breathing, and just being like really just focusing on breathing. There is an experience I've had where I was experiencing high anxiety, and it was the racing heart and all this stuff. And I asked somebody, what do I do? And someone said, you should do white light meditation. And so I would go in my car for my break when I would wake up, before I go to bed, before I do this, that, and the other. For a week, I was doing white light meditation of breathing, which is absolutely essential to the process, and visualizing a white light coming down and entering me. And then my whole inside of my body would become white lights, and then it would descend on the outside of my body. And then it was sort of like peacefulness, just allowing for sitting in peacefulness. And it, within 7 days, allowed for the flourishing of a spiritual awakening, which I was not anticipating. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know there was a phrase for what I had been experiencing until I started looking around like, what the hell am I experiencing? What is going on here? And so it created the phrase for me, 7 days for a new reality. In 7 days, I could have a new reality. And the breathing and meditation aspect was so powerful for me at that time, in those times of high anxiety, which absolutely had to do with my nervous system and what was going on there, that it spurred a most beautiful time of my life. That, funny enough, I think of what I was attracted to at that time, what I was drawn to, and it was the sky, which is Uranus. um, the sky, and feeling a sense of like presence, like it wasn't like it was an individual, like it was a person or a thing. It had presence, and I could feel it on my shoulders, and it was so amazing. And it's something that I still feel an incredible attachment to, is the sky, which makes a lot of sense for all the air energy that I possess. um, in the astrology. And actually, Uranus is in between my sun and my Chiron right now. So it's in a very strange place of my chart, and really pushing some energy there of really wanting to show up and share, and really be that 0-degree Gemini sun that wants to communicate and wants to be the messenger, because I do believe that's a part of like why I'm here and what I do, because I have a mission, I have a purpose. I know what it is, and I've been doing it for years, and I continue to do it because I feel I don't know what else to do with myself. It's what continues to inspire me, you know. And so with this Uranus piece, um follow your inspiration. Follow your inspiration. That is the beginning of the purpose process, which is what that Leo piece is giving us. But for a short time with the Jupiter Leo piece, the Uranus piece is going to be there. It's going to be around. So it's going to be affecting our individuality and our communication and what we're inspired to say or convey, or even like move. It's going to be affecting the change of power in technology, of our own technology. Oh, isn't that awesome? Um, nerd alert. And also technology to the masses, to the collective. Freak flags. All right. Next up, is the beginning of the top of the hierarchy of like what is at the top, what's trickling down. So what starts the process? We've kind of been working from bottom up, I feel like, in that sort of what's going to be temporary just for a little bit, but what are we really investing in what we're going to see sort of become a sense of reality. It's hard with Gemini and Aquarius, those places being sort of places that will be seeing the results because these are ideas. Like Aquarius and Gemini, this is like the thinking and the ideas. It's not necessarily like we're seeing it really happen, which makes it really difficult in an age where everything is manipulated when it comes to how we communicate or what we're being shown for information. Maybe there's a revolution here that needs to take place and how that occurs at a community level, when it comes to like who can we trust to share information and to share ideas. And I'm getting a bigger picture here. But speaking of bigger picture, like what is the vision for us? And when we think of vision and Neptune, that's where we're going here. Neptune is the psychic piece. One of the most important things I have come across in my lifetime was when I was in middle school and I was learning to draw. And there was a book I got from the library. I think it was called Learning to Draw with the Right Side of Your Brain by Betty Edwards. And how does this pertain to anything we're talking about right now? This book taught me how to observe what I was seeing and use that to replicate onto the paper, as opposed to seeing and interpreting and then drawing your interpretation. This was a way to bypass perception. And we have perception loaded in our mind and we don't even know how to separate it. We have no idea. We're completely unaware unless you go to therapy and then maybe you've gained some awareness. But, that's an option that takes a lot of effort to get to. And like you have to be open to that kind of thing, which our society, some people aren't. And then we're left in this endless loop of seeing the world a very particular way. And let me tell you right now, the Neptune's in Aries. So the fog is lifted. We're seeing things for what they are. And maybe our vision is more of what we are idealizing and what we hope to come based on what motivates us. So we really need to be careful on what motivates us. But I think more so when I work with Neptune and I'm working with people on working with Neptune, what we're trying to understand is what is coloring my perception? What is the inner dialogue? So I've learned recently, I'm a person with ADHD, and there's a lot that colors the internal dialogue that revolves around something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is a sense of like, I need people to like me. I need them. And I'm so scared of them rejecting me. And I hate that this is sort of the truth of my reality. And it's so funny because I was attracted to punk rock when I was a middle schooler. And I think it was because it was so tiring to have people like me. It was exhausting. And so the way that I wanted to go about it was I'm an individual and you can suck it, you know? I'm not going to apologize for being who I am. And I think that maybe helped me not have to deal with rejection sensitivity dysphoria so much. But I think more so, it's still there. It still became a thing. It's still around. Um, but it can absolutely color your reality in the sense of like, I do things and I don't even realize I'm doing them because of this aspect of who I am and sort of this priority in my brain of wanting to belong. Even though that's like the antithesis of punk rock, which is just like I'm what I am and that's how it is, you know. But I still subscribe to the punk rock thing, which is very Uranus, by the way. But we need to be careful because there's still conditioning there. It's still there. Like I didn't it it may have a chance to be deconditioned out of me. Just the awareness of it is all I need to in order to understand what I'm observing. There is a way to shut off the perception though. And that's a part of like what we teach and how you can get to the psychic stuff, is to get below that those brain waves that are creating the critical thinking pieces. And this Neptune is the tippy top of our cascade of energies when it comes to this longer standing energy configuration. So we really need to be hyper focused and aware on what is going on with our vision, perception, and observation, especially with the information we're being given. I think a great example of this for me personally, do I want to go there? Man, it's really hard to talk about certain individuals here. I shouldn't. So, what do? How do we navigate this? We go to Sovereign Humankind podcast, which you can find anywhere. I don't know where it is, honestly. You can go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and I have a webpage for this, and I've been putting all my episodes up like a good girl. Once I get to my halfway point, which is 12 episodes, once I have all those published, I'm going to take a little break from recording and editing the podcast episodes. And I'm sorry it's taking so long to get this series out completely. But once I am at that halfway mark, I'm going to be doing more to ensure that this is in the various places that it should be, that it's up on YouTube, that I'm getting some marketing out there for it on my socials and stuff and YouTube, because there's lots of stuff to share there. I've been waiting to kind of get to a place of like being able to market this when I have like lots of substance to share already, you know. And I think once I hit that 12 episode mark, that we'll be in a better place to like really start sharing this. And then as the episodes come out, for the rest of it, then like you'll at least be able to hear a bunch of stuff and then get hooked and start realizing like this is really useful stuff and it's free. And what's the catch? There is no catch. I would say the catch would probably be, you know, you can do this journey on your own. It's really lonely to do it on your own. And I would say there's also a sense of like, I need to be able to perform this, or I need to be with other people and understand like what the norm is here, because even I can't tell that this is right on or not. Like, am I good at this? Like, these are the things you're going to ask. And this can absolutely happen on a one-on-one mentor basis of like developing it with me personally. But I'm gonna encourage people to be playing with the groups that I'm going to be offering, because it's scary, but it's scary because once you get the proof by transcending the scary thing, then it's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. And oh my God, what an amazing impact what an amazing reality this is. And yeah. Okay. So let's go through this again. The immediate concern is, what is it that inspires me that could also benefit the collective? Okay? And maybe we look at it as the collective, the future, and maybe even that it excites me that I have to balance technology in this as well. Maybe it's your inner technology, maybe it's the technology we have at our fingertips. Okay? So you can totally have the spotlight, share your purpose, however that works for you, and put it online, or go out and be part of a protest, or start to learn your metaphysical abilities. This is part of the power back to the people. And you and your heart are what is leading that at this time. Okay? Now, the next step that is already the undercurrent of these things is the power of the collective, that there's a shift happening, and understanding what is there for you and where your power is there too, because that's where power is for the collective. So we're talking about technology, which doesn't have to be this stuff. It can be the stuff that is in you, of you, innate, but not tapped into yet. Listen to my podcast, you'll understand why. And then we're also balancing that sense of power of the collective with my inspiration, my individuality. We have to have both of these things. We have to feel a sense of like ownership of both of these things. One of the things that is a theme when I was looking at Graham Plattner's chart in the previous video I did was cult of personality. Cult of personality. I think we're in an era where that is becoming squashed. And this might be one of the reasons why Graham Plattner is where he is, because he built up too much of a cult of personality. And that era needs to be done, possibly. How can technology maybe help us? How can a collective help us be able to go from an era of celebrity, which builds cult of personality, to power to the masses? Is there a collective unit here? And this is where I'm thinking, like, is it possible to have a political candidate that's actually a collective, a group of people? Is that possible? I don't even know. Is this our future? Is technology going to be our politicians? Like, what kind of crazy reality is that? That is absolutely terrifying. But then there's also, but then we don't have cult of personality, you know? But then is it cult of technology? Like, what are we trading here? But anyway, at the tippy top of it all, what is your vision? And most importantly, what are you observing? What is it that your personal opinion has been set aside and you're just watching things for what they are? Just watch things for what they are. We don't get the chance to see things for what they are because we're usually being told what we're seeing, which has a slant to it. It has a motivation behind it. It has some sort of manipulation. But once you have your technology on board, you have noetic sense. So whatever's being told, whatever's being shown, man, it's a lot of shit. I'm going to say that. It's got to pass the noetic filter. Once you have that on board, once you've cultivated this, it is a garden. It is something you build. It is something you create. It's your neural pathways. It is your brain garden, because these are new things you are integrating and old things that you are weeding out. Man, that's a good analogy. Analogy. All right. Brain garden. At the tippy top of all of this stuff has to do with your vision of what we have for the collective. It feeds that. It feeds who you are as an individual. We're looking at purpose. We're looking at observation. And the tools could very well be integrated into this process as part of where the energies are leading us. So the tools, meaning your intuition, your psychic ability, merging with the higher self, all of this together is the metaphysical abilities that aren't so weird. Again, I think ancient humans had access to this stuff. I think it's one of the reasons why there are pyramids all over the world, as like maybe it's information gathering spots. These people were not stupid. I think they were genius in ways that we don't understand. I think we're going to uncover that, though. I think that's going to be part of our Aquarian age, is to understand sort of the alienness of our humanity. Not to say aliens like the little blue guys out in the universe, but more to say that sense of like how our humanity was different at another time, and a sense of like our abilities even being different at a time that we look back and we go, those were dumber humans than us. I'm a big fan of the band Devo, and part of that has to do with the fact that I think they got it right, that we're in a de-evolution stage. But maybe we're in a time of really capturing our humanity again. And this, going back to the Barbeault's basket, there was so much positivity from the guy who found this configuration and wrote about it. This is the same guy that predicted, astrologer, who predicted the 2020 pandemic. He actually died in 2019, so he didn't get to see what he predicted come to be. But he pointed out this time with the Barbeault basket. I don't think he called it my basket, but he looked at this configuration and said, this is a most beautiful time of humanity. With the longer term planets involved, the outer planets involved, we're looking at this evolution taking place over time and not an immediate thing. I mean, maybe there could be an immediacy to it. Maybe we're going to see flashes of what that is. And I'm hoping this video could be one of those things. And time's up for that moon being exactly at 4 degrees. But if this could be part of that, then we're right on track. That's my vision. All right. So I have a podcast, Sovereign Humankind, Evolving Inner Authority Through Metaphysical Skill. I really feel like if we individually can feel a sense of security of what truth is, being able to access anything we want when it comes to information from any point in time, anywhere in the world. That's what psychic ability is. And having that integrated into your reality really makes you see the world in a very different way, and reality in a very different way. And then the little things that people are so worried about are sort of like, are you serious? That's not that much of a concern. Especially in the realm of secrets and hiding things, because once you have evidence of your psychic ability, then you realize I can access any piece of information if I want to. That's a freedom. Are you going to do it? I mean, I don't care enough to do it. I think it definitely changes relationships. But it's something that I feel like I wield in a very trustful way for people, where they maybe question my sanity when it comes to being a psychic. They maybe go like, is she really psychic? She doesn't seem like psychic. It's like, well, I have priorities. But then there's also the intuition tool. This is the tool that allows us to trust ourselves. I don't think we realize we are a culture of no experience of how to trust the self. I've come across a few people. I married a person that had an ounce of that. And I married him because I trusted his intuition more than I trusted my own. I look back and can understand this. But now I understand where my hangups were. We have nervous system bullshit going on. We've got emotion obstacles that we need to understand, gain awareness of, and maybe decondition. This is what therapy is all about, by the way, in somatic therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, and that stuff absolutely has to do with that trust piece in the intuition. I'm saying, I define intuition a little bit so people can see how we have a difference with like going to therapy versus intuition. Intuition, we have a process here, and tell you what to look for and how to move through that. Also, we've got merging with the higher self. This leads us to freedom, which is the most craziest thing to say to anybody and be like, no, for real, this is what this is what it does. And it starts with emotion and gaining awareness that you feel an emotion. And it all starts there. It's a new cycle. It's a new discovery process. It's a new challenge for you to take on to find your freedom. And I go through that in the podcast. It sounds kind of crazy here, but once you hear me talk about it, you go, oh, well, shit, you're just saying like therapy shit. Again, therapy shit. I didn't know Carl Jung before, I don't know, a couple years ago. And once I started learning about Carl Jung, who's a father of psychology, I started to see how what he was saying made complete sense with the downloads of information I received as a psychic. And this information came through downloads, which sounds fucking crazy. I get it. But let me also say that this information isn't my information. This information comes from something we all have access to. It's like the World Wide Web that is the biological human access stream of information. I again feel like the internet is a technology that comes from a biological synthesis of our own metaphysical abilities. Again, another example that I would go to, because I feel like what I tap into with psychic ability or even mediumship, it's a stream of information. I just tap into it. I'm just a receiver. So look out for the podcast. You can go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and just go to it and listen to episodes there. I have it streaming on different places, but I don't know quite where they are. But I obviously need to get them to all the places. And I plan on uploading these to YouTube as well. My community is called Next Gen Sovereign Community. Right now, I house it at my website. I was thinking about school, skool.com. I think that's what it's called. But this is where I have educational information for you to get started on your own self-led journey of these abilities. I always want people to get a real big impact with the psychic in the foundations area. And then we move on once you want to commit to like group work and stuff. We really get into the fun strategic stuff of like intuition and higher self. Of course, we have to practice psychic because that's an evolutionary skill that for me took about 9 months to get the evidence of that. And that was like really fueled by my like ADHD hyper focus, like chasing dopamine thing. And you know what? It still fuels me today. Here I am, sticking with it since 2018. You can visit that at nextgenmedium.com. Here's my shit. Yeah. I've started a Substack, and that's another thing that I want to start building. I have a Facebook and Instagram as well that sometimes I'll put stuff on there. I should be better at that. Okay. So there you go. There's my thoughts. Pay attention at this time to what is your purpose? What are the things that you feel a sense of like an intense draw? But also recognize why that draw is there. If it's ego driven, then you might be having to choose between what that power piece is of the collective and that sense of identity of self. But if it's heart led and there's sort of a selflessness to it, then we're right in line with where you need to be. And for the next year, this is going to be that Leo heart focus is like, we really need to be focusing on what that is for us individually. Because this is energy that flows to the collective. It may oppose that sense. There may need to be balance there, but there's always a balance between who am I individually and where do I fit into the whole. I don't want to disappear, but I also don't want to, I also don't want to draw power away from the collective. Like, we don't want to do that right now because there is no power to the collective. We're drawing from nothing. So we are taking that back, right? So we got to be careful with that. Now, but also we need to think about like the bigger picture. What is our vision? What am I seeing? What is colored by my perception? What is colored by my anger and my rage? That coloring is taking you away from your options and from your freedom. And it's not to say that I don't get mad about shit. There was a time months ago where the news made me like fall on the ground and cry, and it's rough. I get it. We're in it. But there comes a tipping point, maybe we're there now. And there comes a point when we got to do what we can in our own lives, in our own experience. And this is our chance. Having the vision, being able to observe, being able to move with our heart and be heart led. How do I maintain my individuality while adding to the collective, the power, keeping the power to the masses? How do I be inspired and communicate and share and be a messenger? And also, how do I juggle all that? Where am I in all that? Be inspired. Lead with your heart. And be conscious of the power, shifts of power. Notice how it is shifting. It's going to happen. And be careful of perception. I think that's it. Check out my website, nextgenmedium.com. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you're interested in what I've been chatting about today. And let me know what you thought about this conversation. Maybe there's something you're more interested in me chatting about. I'd love to do that. And I think we're going to take a little look at Maine and its relation with the Great Conjunction and how something that's happened in the past week, which is another ice murder. We're going to talk about how that all is sort of showing up in the astrology. Again, armchair astrologer. If you are more into this stuff and you're like have certifications or whatever, please put your thoughts down below. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe there's like a bigger theme that could be talked about here. I would love to talk about it. I am the person who talks about sovereignty. I am the person who talks about the metaphysical abilities. These are the tools. These are our skills. It is not special people. We're all special people then. What makes you special is actually connecting yourself with your tools and starting to use them. My podcast can help you start to do that. And of course, Next Gen Sovereign, my community. Thank you for watching. Follow me on the places and subscribe, comment, like, share if you want. And I really appreciate you watching. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. I think that's it. Oh, if you like this, you can also donate at buymeacoffee.com/nextgenmedium. Thank you.